The internet gave us access to the sum of human knowledge, and we used it to scream at strangers about how to slice a bagel. Americans will go to war over anything, from the correct peanut butter to whether you should wash your legs in the shower. If you think your opinion is safe, you are wrong. Here are 49 ridiculous digital battles that prove we have way too much free time. 1. A full-scale digital riot broke out over a picture of a drink. It started innocently enough when a girl posted a selfie with a caramel-drenched frappuccino and the caption, "I am such a coffee addict." The gatekeepers of caffeine awoke from their slumber and chose violence. They flooded her comments, screaming that if your beverage has more high-fructose corn syrup than actual bean water, you aren't caffeinated, you are just pre-diabetic. One user destroyed her ego by saying, "That is not coffee, sweetie. That is a milkshake wearing a disguise to get into a morning meeting." Honestly, if you need a spoon to consume your morning joe, maybe just admit you like dessert for breakfast and move on. 2. Yelp became a war zone when a Los Angeles food truck decided to play God with the menu. They introduced the gluten-free vegan sushi burrito, and the reviews were a mix of confusion and pure hatred. Half the city called it a culinary masterpiece, while the other half called it a crime against 3 different cultures at once. One reviewer left a stinging 3-star rating, describing the flavor profile as gentrified confusion wrapped in seaweed and saying it tasted like Whole Foods and indecision. Look, I am all for innovation, but when your lunch requires a dictionary and a credit check to understand, maybe we have gone too far as a society. 3. There is no quicker way to destroy a friendship or a comment section than by asking how to pronounce the file format, GIF. Is it GIF with a hard G or GIF, like the peanut butter brand? This debate has been raging since the days of dial-up internet. Even the creator of the format stepped in and explicitly said, "It is pronounced GIF." And the collective response from America was, "Shut up, nerd, you are wrong." It is truly beautiful how we love freedom so much that we will look the actual inventor in the eye and tell him he doesn't know how to speak his own language. I say we start pronouncing it Jeff, just to make everyone miserable. 4. A Reddit thread turned into a deep philosophical crisis when someone asked if the 5-second rule actually legally binds germs to stay away from your dropped pizza. Scientists immediately weighed in with boring facts about bacteria transfer, but they were shouted down by an army of internet dads claiming that dirt builds character. One genius argued that yelling, "immune system activated," works better than the 5-second rule because germs respect confidence. It is fascinating that we think bacteria have ears and respect a countdown clock. But with the price of groceries these days, I am not leaving a perfectly good slice of pepperoni behind just because it touched the linoleum. 5. An innocent question on a Costco fan page regarding the ethics of taking a second free sample spiraled into a debate on morality itself. Some patriots argued that stuffing your face with tiny cups of ravioli is a God-given American right included in the membership fee. Others clutched their pearls, calling it economic sabotage and gluttony. The absolute highlight was a mother who admitted she puts a wig on her toddler to send him back in for a second round of sausage links. Is that a felony? Maybe. Is it genius resourcefulness? Absolutely. I wouldn't mess with a woman who has a tactical disguise kit just to score extra snacks. 6. Nothing triggers a meltdown quite like arbitrary dating standards. A meme account posted that male height starts at 6 feet, and the uprising of the short kings was immediate, loud, and aggressive. Men under 5'9" swarmed the comments with charts, statistics, and plenty of sass, mostly typed from a lower altitude. One guy heroically commented, "My love is tall, even if I need a step stool to kiss you." It is brutal out there, folks. Apparently, the dating market has suffered from inflation too, and now you need to be legally considered a giant just to buy a girl a drink without showing ID. 7. A Twitter user made the fatal mistake of asking why Americans fill their cups with 90% ice and 10% liquid. Europeans flooded the replies, confused why we enjoy thermal shock with every meal. But the Americans stood their ground like it was 1776, One Floridian declared, "No ice? That is just sad, depressed water." Another user questioned if drinking room temperature soda was even legal under the Constitution. We are a nation that likes our beverages cold enough to preserve a woolly mammoth. And if you hand an American a lukewarm Coke, do not be surprised if they look at you like you just insulted their grandmother. 8. A viral video showed someone slicing a bagel vertically, like a loaf of bread, instead of horizontally, and the collective gasp was heard from space. The internet treated this like a hate crime against carbohydrates. New Yorkers were practically calling the police, with one commenting, "That is not a bagel, that is a bread tragedy." Bagel shops threatened lifetime bans for anyone attempting this at home. It turns out the original poster was from Ohio, which honestly explains everything. If you are slicing a bagel like a loaf of Wonder Bread, you clearly have nothing left to lose and should probably be on a government watch list. 9. An Etsy seller group turned into a digital fight club when someone dared to suggest that handmade items created with AI prompts are not real art. The crafters emerged from their studios with hot glue guns drawn and zero patience. One traditional artist screamed that if you didn't burn your fingerprints off or cry while gluing sequins at 2 in the morning, your art is invalid. Another user defended their AI creation, claiming it felt deeply personal because they typed the words really passionately. The moderators had to step in like UN peacekeepers, but the damage was done. There is nothing quite as terrifying as a scorned woman with a bedazzler and an internet connection. 10. A national parks Facebook group descended into chaos when a casual tourist suggested that flip-flops were valid hiking footwear. The hardcore hikers from Colorado and Utah lost their minds, flooding the comments with photos of twisted ankles and blisters the size of quarters. One brave soul admitted he wore Crocs on a 10-mile trail and saw God at mile 3. I am pretty sure he saw God because of the excruciating pain, not the scenery. The thread had more reported injuries than a holiday weekend at the emergency room, proving that some people view nature as a challenge, and others view it as a casual stroll through the mall. 11. A Facebook group for suburban dads faced a psychological schism when someone asked if mowing the lawn counts as self-care. Half the group swore it was their meditation zone, a sacred time involving noise-canceling headphones, a cold beer, and zero talking. The other half argued it is just unpaid manual labor performed in 90-degree heat while inhaling exhaust fumes. One alpha dad claimed he mows shirtless specifically to assert dominance over the neighborhood fescue. His homeowners association sent a cease and desist letter, but you have to respect the commitment to the bit. Apparently, the line between yard work and therapy is just a grass stain away. 12. A controversial post in a Disney fan group asked the forbidden question, should adults without children be banned from the parks? The child-free Disney adults went nuclear. One woman replied, I cry at the fireworks and spend $300 on mouse ears. Do not test me. Another argued, some of us are the kids. We just have credit card debt and back pain now. It is a valid point. Who else is going to buy the overpriced pretzels, if not the millennials trying to heal their inner child? The comments section was a battlefield of nostalgia and entitlement, proving the happiest place on earth has a very dark underbelly. 13. A home design forum got uncomfortably heated when a user posted a photo of their open-concept master bathroom. A horrified commenter simply asked, where is the door? The homeowner replied with a straight face, we believe in total transparency in our marriage. Look, transparency is great for finances, but I do not need to see my spouse flossing while I'm trying to have a private moment. Another user summarized it perfectly. I believe in boundaries, especially during Taco Tuesday. If your relationship can survive an open-concept toilet after a spicy meal, you are not soulmates. You are trauma bond survivors. 14. In a bizarre corner of an Etsy seller forum, a serious argument broke out over whether spiritual crystals should come with an expiration date. Some sellers insisted that their crystals ran out of charge, like cheap batteries, and needed to be replaced. One seller claimed their rose quartz actually fainted from stress after absorbing too much bad energy. Another replied, "Same, honestly." I love that we have reached a point in capitalism where rocks have planned obsolescence. If you are returning a stone because it is tired, maybe the problem isn't the geology. Maybe it is just you. 15. On Reddit, a debate reached a boiling point when someone suggested that tipping should be optional. Americans from service industry states like New York and California defended tipping as a moral imperative, while others called it emotional blackmail with a smile. The thread hit 10,000 comments before the moderators locked it down. It turned into a war between "pay people a living wage" and "I am not subsidizing your boss's payroll." We have all faced that iPad screen swivel of doom, staring at the 20% option while the barista watches your soul leave your body. It is just capitalism served with a side of guilt. 16. A college dorm group chat blew up when a freshman asked if it is socially acceptable to wear pajamas to class. The fashion police arrived instantly, screaming, "It is a university, not a slumber party." The other side insisted, "Look good, think good," implying that sweatpants lower your GPA. One philosophy major chimed in with, "What even is appropriate clothing?" and hasn't been seen since midterms. Let's be real. By finals week, showing up in a bathrobe and Crocs is considered formal wear. If you are paying 50 grand a year for tuition, you should be allowed to learn calculus in a onesie. 17. A college campus Instagram account posted a seemingly innocent poll. Is pineapple on pizza acceptable? Within hours, the campus was divided. Frat bros, tenured professors, and cafeteria staff were locked in a vicious debate. One economics major actually created a PowerPoint presentation on flavor contrast to defend the fruit, while another student ceremonially burned a pineapple slice on the quad. Someone definitely failed a class over this. It is amazing how we can solve complex engineering problems but cannot agree on whether warm fruit belongs on melted cheese. 18. The shopping cart theory sparked a furious debate on moral character. The theory states that returning your cart is the ultimate test of self-governance because there is no reward for doing it and no punishment for not doing it. People who leave carts in parking spots were labeled sociopaths and enemies of society. One defender argued, "I am creating job security for the cart guy." No, you are not a job creator, Kyle. You are just lazy and making someone's day harder in 90-degree heat. 19. A Home Depot fan page started a tribal war when someone posted that Lowe's is just the target of hardware stores. The DIY dads took immediate offense. One replied, "I have built sheds that have lasted longer than your relationships. Do not talk to me about Lowe's." Another claimed, "Real men do not shop based on vibes. We shop by the smell of the lumber." It turns out men are very sensitive about where they buy their plywood. Calling their favorite store the Target version is apparently the equivalent of insulting their ancestors. It is just a hammer, guys. Relax. 20. A cooking forum witnessed a digital civil war when a user posted that mac and cheese is strictly a side dish and does not belong on the Thanksgiving table. The Southern delegation immediately mobilized, armed with family recipes and threats of violence. For many Americans, criticizing the cheesy casserole is the equivalent of slapping their grandmother in the face. One user wrote a 5-paragraph essay explaining that if your mac and cheese isn't baked with 3 types of cheddar in a breadcrumb crust, you have failed as a human being. The original poster was never heard from again, presumably buried under a mountain of Velveeta. 21. A Facebook group for renters turned into a philosophical debate on aesthetics versus rules when a tenant asked if hanging Christmas lights in July is acceptable if they are just vibes. The Homeowners Association apologists screamed about property values, but the top comment came from a tired landlord who just wanted peace. He wrote, "Honestly, I would rather see your blinking LED lights than have to look at your shirtless boyfriend chain-smoking on the balcony at 2 in the morning." You have to admire that kind of pragmatism. As long as the rent check clears, who cares if your apartment looks like a confused Santa Claus lives there? 22. In a Facebook group for moms, an international diplomatic incident occurred over the concept of microwaving tea. British commenters were absolutely horrified, clutching their pearls and calling it a war crime. Meanwhile, Americans defended their right to nuke it for 90 seconds, because we are busy people who don't have time for kettles. One patriot escalated the situation by claiming the tea actually tastes better after a radiation bath because it is infused with freedom. I am pretty sure the Queen rolled over in her grave, and somewhere in Boston, a harbor just started bubbling spontaneously. 23. A post on X, formerly known as the Hellscape Twitter, claimed that real Americans eat ranch dressing with literally everything. This triggered an avalanche of photographic evidence showing pizza, spaghetti, and even watermelon slathered in the creamy white sauce. People were posting photos that looked like culinary crime scenes. While half the internet gagged, the other half asked, "Where is the lie?" The only consensus reached is that for a large portion of the Midwest, ranch dressing isn't a condiment. It is a beverage, a lifestyle, and possibly a religion. 24. Americans went to digital war over the superiority of crunchy versus smooth peanut butter, and the casualties were high. Facebook pages were launched, merchandise was sold, and marriages were tested. The smooth faction argued that crunchy peanut butter is just lazy manufacturing and feels like eating gravel. The crunchy defenders fired back, claiming smooth is for toddlers who haven't developed teeth yet. It is amazing how passionate we get about smashed legumes. I have seen less hostility in political debates than in the comment section of a Jif versus Skippy showdown. 25. Every December, the internet goes to war over whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Families have stopped talking to each other over this. The traditionalists argue that a Christmas movie needs Santa and lessons about giving, not terrorists falling off buildings. The Die Hard truthers insist that since it happens on Christmas Eve and features a dead guy in a sweatshirt that says, "Ho, ho, ho," it counts. Even Bruce Willis said it is not a Christmas movie, but Americans ignored him because we know better. 26. A fiery debate erupted on a subreddit over whether air fryers are actually magical or just overhyped hairdryers for food. Die Hard fans defended their countertop heroes with photos of crispy wings, claiming the machine changed their lives. Critics argued it is just a convection oven with a better marketing team and a smaller basket. One user dramatically declared that their air fryer saved their marriage because it stopped the arguments about who had to cook dinner. If your relationship depends on the ability to reheat frozen French fries in 12 minutes, the air fryer isn't the hero. It's a crutch. 27. A massive Twitter storm brewed when someone posted the controversial statement, "If you put ketchup on steak, we cannot be friends." Battle lines were drawn immediately. The steak purists shamed the condiment crowd, calling them children who ruined good meat. The ketchup lovers stood firm, arguing that it is their cow and they can dress it how they want. One user summed up the exhaustion of the debate by saying, "I have survived worse things than your judgment. Let me dip in peace." Honestly, if you are paying $50 for a ribeye just to drown it in Heinz, you do you, but maybe don't tell the chef. 28. A personal finance forum descended into chaos after someone suggested that tipping at a self-checkout machine is emotional manipulation. People were furious that a robot was asking for 20%. Some users claimed they always hit no tip and walk out with their head held high, while others admitted they panic and tip just to avoid judgment from the machine. One guilt-ridden user confessed, "I tipped my own reflection in the screen out of habit." We have reached a point in society where we are afraid of offending a kiosk that doesn't even have a soul or a rent payment to make. 29. When a TikTok went viral claiming that you should brush your teeth before breakfast, it unleashed a toothpaste-fueled civil war. Some claimed brushing first protects your enamel, while others insisted that drinking orange juice with a minty mouth is a flavor straight from hell. One dentist got so fed up with the misinformation that she made a reaction video where she just aggressively ate cereal while brushing mid-spoonful. It was chaotic, disturbing, and proved that dental hygiene is apparently a very emotional topic for people who have nothing else to worry about. 30. A Walmart Facebook page triggered a mass debate by showcasing a massive self-checkout line with absolutely no employees in sight. Some tech enthusiasts praised it as the future of shopping, while others called it retail purgatory. One guy complained that he felt like he should be receiving a W-2 tax form for the amount of labor he did scanning his own groceries. Another user added, "I came here for toothpaste and left with trust issues because the receipt checker treated me like a felon." It is a valid point. If I scan my own bananas, I shouldn't have to prove I didn't steal them at the door. 31. A Facebook thread about cleaning cast iron skillets turned into a death threat scenario when someone admitted to using dish soap. The cast iron cult screamed that soap ruins the seasoning and destroys generations of flavor. One user admitted they put their grandmother's skillet in the dishwasher, and I am pretty sure a SWAT team was dispatched to their house. People treat these pans like holy relics. If you touch them with anything other than salt and a prayer, you are excommunicated from the kitchen. 32. A massive thread formed when someone declared that the mall is dead. Millennials flooded the comments to mourn their teenage hangouts, remembering the smell of pretzels and cheap perfume. Gen Z commenters were just confused, asking, "What is a mall?" One guy shut down the haters by saying, "I met my wife outside a Hot Topic in 2004, so watch your mouth." It turns out nostalgia is a powerful drug. We don't miss the overpriced clothes. We miss the days when our biggest problem was deciding which food court sample to eat 3 times in a row. 33. A dating advice thread spiraled out of control when someone said that splitting the bill on a first date is un-American. The traditionalists called it chivalry, while the modern daters screamed, "Split or dip." One woman laid down the law by saying, "If I pay for my own salad, I also get the right to ghost you immediately after dessert." Honestly, it is hard to argue with logic that sharp. If the date feels like a business transaction, you might as well bring a calculator and invoice them for your time. 34. A seemingly innocent photo of someone wearing sneakers on a carpeted floor sparked an international hygiene crisis. The shoes-off households screamed about bacteria and street dirt, calling the shoe wearers savages who invite the sidewalk into their living room. The shoes-on crowd defended their right to arch support and claimed taking shoes off is awkward for guests. It turned into a battle of comfort versus cleanliness. Honestly, if you are walking across a white rug in outdoor boots, you are not just dirty. You are brave and possibly looking for a fight. 35. A Facebook group dedicated to the sacred art of lawn care nearly imploded when a user posted a photo of their genius lawn alternative. AstroTurf spray-painted a radioactive shade of green. The grass purists were absolutely appalled, acting like the guy had paved paradise to put up a plastic parking lot. One commenter asked, "Do you hate nature and your own dignity?" To which the original poster replied, "It is not fake grass. It is maintenance-free dreams." You have to admire the audacity. In a world where we spend weekends fighting dandelions, maybe the guy with the plastic yard and the spray paint is the only one who has truly figured out the meaning of freedom. 36. A casual post about shower habits turned into a national hygiene crisis on Twitter. It was revealed that a terrifying percentage of Americans do not wash their legs, relying instead on the trickle-down economics of soap suds. This revelation sparked absolute horror among the scrubbers of the world. Polls were launched, friendships were questioned, and people looked at their spouses with new suspicion. One side argued that gravity does the work. The other side argued that you are walking around with dirty shins. Never has a body part been so controversial. If you think the soap just magically knows where to go, I have some bad news about how dirt works. 37. A spicy thread erupted when someone suggested that cats should be legally required to be leashed in public. Dog owners cheered, happy to see someone else suffer, but the cat people revolted immediately. One user posted a photo of their tabby in a harness, just dangling from a tree branch like a furious ornament, proving that you cannot govern a liquid solid. The most liked comment summed it up. That is not a cat. That is a furry anarchist in a vest. Trying to walk a cat is not a leisurely stroll. It is a series of small humiliations followed by first aid. If you want a pet that follows rules, get a dog. 38. A local Facebook marketplace nearly collapsed under the weight of its own absurdity when someone tried to sell a Ziploc bag of used dryer lint for crafting purposes. The crafters immediately debated whether this was eco-friendly brilliance or just selling trash with unearned confidence. One interested buyer actually asked if it was scented, and the seller replied, "It has hints of lavender and regret." I love the entrepreneurial spirit, but if you are buying someone else's old dust bunnies to make a quilt, you need to reevaluate your life choices. There is a fine line between upcycling and just hoarding garbage, and selling your laundry byproduct is definitely crossing it. 39. On a minimalist lifestyle page, a brave soul asked if filling your house with 75 potted plants counts as hoarding. The plant community reacted as if they had been personally attacked with a weed whacker. They screamed, "They are oxygen providers, not clutter," pushing back against the idea that living in an indoor jungle is a mental illness. One user defended their addiction by saying, "My monstera has better boundaries than half my family." You can't argue with that logic. But let's be honest, if you need a machete to get from your bedroom to the kitchen, you aren't a gardener. You are just living in a very expensive terrarium. 40. A gaming subreddit caught fire when someone argued that Monopoly teaches kids about capitalism better than any school economics class. The thread turned into a debate about property hoarding, the wealth gap, and the inevitable rage flip of the board. One mother shared that her daughter actually cried when her dad bought Boardwalk and raised the rent. A ruthless commenter replied, "Welcome to adulthood, kid." It is the only game where you start with friends and end with legal disputes and trust issues. If you want to teach your children that life is unfair and the banker always wins, just break out the Parker Brothers box and wait for the tears. 41. A debate over the proper way to fold fitted sheets went viral, dividing the internet into two camps: the liars and the realists. The liars claimed they follow a Martha Stewart tutorial to create a perfect square, while the realists admitted they just roll it into a chaotic ball and shove it in the closet. One commenter said their fitted sheet haunts them like unfinished homework every time they do laundry. Let's stop pretending. Unless you are a wizard or a hotel maid, that sheet is never going to look good. Just wad it up, close the door, and let the wrinkles represent your chaotic state of mind. 42. The debate over whether toilet paper should hang over or under the roll is the oldest argument in domestic history, and it still ruins marriages. The over faction cited the original 1891 patent, which clearly shows the paper hanging over, claiming it is the only civilized way to live. The under faction, mostly cat owners, argued that hiding the tail prevents pets from unrolling the entire spool. One user claimed that putting the roll on backward is a passive-aggressive cry for help. If you have to fight about toilet paper orientation, just buy wet wipes and save your energy. 43. An online parenting forum nearly imploded over the politics of Santa Claus. The argument was whether Santa should bring big-ticket items like iPads or just small stocking stuffers to avoid making other kids feel poor at school. Some parents argued for economic equality in the North Pole, while others said, "My Santa has a credit card, deal with it." It is amazing how we managed to turn a magical guy in a red suit into a debate about socioeconomic privilege. Nothing says Merry Christmas like guilt-tripping strangers on the internet because their imaginary elf labor distribution model doesn't match yours. 44. A fierce online debate erupted over the eternal question: is a hot dog a sandwich? The internet split into two hostile camps, with one side citing dictionary definitions of meat between bread and the other invoking cultural norms and common sense. Even major food chains jumped in to capitalize on the chaos, escalating what should have been a joke into a full-blown identity crisis. People were blocking family members over this. Look, if you go to a deli and ask for a tube steak sandwich, they are going to look at you like you are crazy, It is a taco structure with sandwich ingredients. Let's move on. 45. A heated argument took place in a dog owner forum after someone admitted they let their pup lick the dinner plates clean because it acts as a pre-wash. The sanitary horror that followed was palpable. While some users gagged, others quietly admitted they'd do the same thing to save water. One guy boldly claimed, "I trust my dog's tongue more than my dishwasher." That is a terrifying level of trust in an animal that also licks the sidewalk and its own rear end. I love my dog, but I draw the line at sharing a utensil with a creature that thinks cat litter is a snack bar. 46. A passionate debate began in a sports subreddit after someone claimed that mini golf is just golf for people with commitment issues. The traditional golfers were furious at the comparison, but the mini golf lovers fought back with memes of windmills and neon-colored balls. One commenter destroyed the purists by saying, "Real golf never gave me a free slushie for a hole-in-one." He has a point. Why spend 4 hours walking around a giant lawn in silence when you can hit a ball through a clown's mouth and win a prize? Mini golf is simply the superior sport because it doesn't require goofy pants or a country club membership. 47. On a budgeting forum, an argument exploded after someone confessed they reuse paper towels if they are just a little damp. Some users praised this as thrifty genius, while others recoiled, calling it wiping your counters with moist disappointment. The absolute peak of insanity was a user who admitted they actually iron their paper towels dry to use them again. If you are ironing disposable paper products to save 3 cents, you need a therapy session, not a budgeting tip. There is being frugal, and then there is turning your kitchen into a science experiment for bacterial growth. Just buy the bulk pack at Costco and let it go. 48. A viral video of a passenger punching the reclined seat in front of him on a plane ignited a massive debate about travel etiquette. Half the internet argued that the recline button exists for a reason, and they paid for that 3 inches of space. The other half claimed that reclining in economy class is a selfish act of war that crushes the kneecaps of the person behind you. One tall traveler commented, "If you recline into my lap, we are cuddling, and I will be whispering in your ear." Air travel has really just become a wrestling match at 30,000 feet. 49. A heated comment thread started when a TikTok video showed someone using mayonnaise instead of butter to grill a cheese sandwich. The internet was torn between calling it culinary heresy or absolute genius. Chefs weighed in, claiming the oil in mayo creates a better crust, while traditionalists acted like the poster had just committed a war crime. A grandma from Idaho commented, "That is how you summon Satan through your skillet." I don't know if it summons demons, but people really need to calm down about condiments. If it's crispy and filled with melted cheese, does it really matter if you used egg sauce or cow juice to get there? We just covered 49 reasons why humanity might need a hard reset. Now, I want to see a real fight in the comments right now. Tell me, does pineapple belong on pizza? Or are you a functional member of society? Pick a side and defend it like your life depends on it. If you laughed or got angry, subscribe now. It is cheaper than therapy, and I have way more dirt to spill.